James tells us in his writings. He said that, draw nigh to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Now, those are great words, and they have great meaning to us. Draw nigh to God, resist the devil, and the devil will flee. Well, that's a wonderful start in our quest to seek the face of God. We've talked about this week on the broadcast when I told you I've got good news, and I do. And the good news comes from 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If we will humble ourselves, pray, seek the face of God, and he will heal our land. Now, seeking the face of God is something that requires discipline. Yeah, that word, discipline. I find it to be interesting that during the ministry of Jesus Christ, there was a child brought to the disciples of Jesus. And this young man was just really having difficulty. He had some severe problems, and he was just demonic, and he was throwing himself in the fire. I mean, he was just trying to kill himself. And so they brought this young man to the disciples. They tried to cast that devil out, and Jesus, and then they couldn't do it. So then the child was brought to Jesus. And Jesus immediately rebuked that devil and cast it out. Well, the disciples, the apostles, they were just amazed. And they said to Jesus, they said, why were you able to do what we could not do? Why were you able to cast out this devil and we could not? And Jesus said something very, very important. He said, these things come by prayer and fasting. But those two things requires discipline. And most people don't much like discipline. I mean, we think about discipline in a professional athlete, somebody who plays some type of a sport or something of that nature, or somebody who runs and they have to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, and they have to get up early in the morning, and if they get blisters or whatever, they have to ignore that. They just have to keep on doing what they're doing to be able to hone their craft to become the professionals that they become. Well, I think that gives us a picture of what is being required of us if we truly want to be people who are seeking the face of God. We have to develop our spiritual self. And we have to do, as I talked about yesterday when the Apostle Paul said, I have to crucify the old man. I've got to pray. I've got to allow myself to be elevated above my carnal self to where my spiritual self is calling the shots, and I'm able to connect with a spiritual God as a spiritual person. But as I said, this requires discipline. And I believe that if we have a desire to see our land healed, that we'd find that discipline. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.